Welcome to the Life in Flow podcast.
The three of us, Yulya, Polina, and Irina, are exploring what life in flow and flow in life is.
Join us as we experiment, test our diverse hypotheses, and have fun in the process.
Will we find an answer?
This isn't just an intellectual discussion. We're co-creating a shared field beyond words. We're attuning to what emerges moment by moment, so that the conversation itself becomes a group flow experience.
And we invite you to become an active participant in this experiment. There will be pauses and moments of silence. We leave them on purpose because this is where magic happens.
Go beyond the intellectual information. Listen with your whole body and notice how your somatic experience shifts in the process. Share with us what reveals itself in the space where mind, body, and energy flow together.
Welcome to the new episode of Life in Flow podcast. Here we are again, Yulya, Polina, and I, Irina, will be steering the flow today. And today we will continue some part of the discussion that we had some episodes ago. So in one of the previous episodes, we were discussing, supposedly, how the concept of the individuality and the collectivity would weave together in an ideal world that we would like to live in. So we were exploring the concept of utopia and how the individual and the collective should function together. The question was posed as the antagonism initially between the individual and the collective. And in our exploration, one of the main principles that emerged for our utopia was the principle of yes and. Basically, what was said is that not necessarily those two concepts or those two phenomena should be the antagonisms, that they should coexist and co-create together. And although I totally support generally the principle of yes and I think we definitely need to integrate it more in our practice, in our life, to make our world and our life more generative. I couldn't stop thinking since that our discussion that the world actually can't function based only on the principle yes and. I will explain it a little bit in different terms. As I probably have mentioned before, I have quite a lot of experience in creative thinking facilitation. And so any creative process doesn't matter what the context is. So any creative process is always an iteration between different divergent and convergent phases. And we can't have a creative process just based on one part. So we need to diverge, we need to explore all kind of different options, to explore the novelty, but sooner or later we also always need to evaluate and to reduce the options. Otherwise, we will end up in a creative chaos, or how one of my teachers tends to phrase it. So there is this realm of infinite possibilities where everything is possible, but nothing actually happens because it's all just possibilities. So for these possibilities to take form, we need to bring these possibilities into the realm of the matter, where things, not everything is equally possible. And so like we are obliged to reduce the options and to focus our efforts on something and to say no to other options. And from this perspective, the principle of yes and is the principle of the generative phase. So like we are saying yes to any other options, and it allows us to explore the novelty, to explore the new possibilities, to explore this realm where everything is possible. But sooner or later, we need to go back to the realm where like we have to say no to things. And this is what I want to discuss today. How we can combine the principle of the yes and with other convergent tools that would allow us to make things happen, but without killing the the novelty and the the infinite possibilities of the realm of yes and. So I framed it as the following question: how do we converge generatively? And before we go to our traditional game, which will be a little bit different today, I want to explain two rules that we will be following during today's discussion. The first rule is because the focus of our today's conversation is actually focus. To help us to reduce the options, we will be using our masks today again. So we will be following the majority part of our discussions with our eyes closed, so we could focus only on the discussion, would not be distracted by the visuals. But we will put the mask on later a little bit. And another rule that I want to introduce is, and so this is the invitation for all the three of us, but also for any listeners who are listening to us. I want to invite you to set an intention for this conversation. And it could be like whatever intention that pleases you. It might be related to the topic of the conversation, or it might be something very personal for you. So right now, what I want you to do is to occupy with your whole body this intention and pay attention to how somatically this intention expresses itself in your body. So I invite you throughout the conversation to maintain your focus on the somatic expression of this intention. That is to say, like, keep your attention on this sensation in the body. That is the manifestation of your intention for you. Deal? Good. Because of the topic of our conversation, our game, unlike all our previous games, will also be focused on convergence. Do you know this game sometimes people play when they do an interview of someone and they give them like sort of the choices they need to pick from, like, you choose this or that, or what you choose this or that. And like these are normally the funny choices that still allow the listeners to know somewhat better, like the interviewee. So we will do something like that. I will present you a set of choices. And you, each of you, well, each of us, because I will be participating too, of course, each of you have to choose one. And you can't say it depends, both, or whatever. So you for each option, you need to choose just one option for each alternatives. So let's begin. Know the future or change the past? What do you pick?
Change the past.
Know the future.
I would pick change the past too, I think. Oh, no.
Yes, Ira, you have done so. Sorry,
Okay,
you have
yeah, I have to
converged.
deal with my choice. I didn't prepare, but I think no, I will change. I will pick no the future too. Okay, to regret the yes or to regret the no?
To regret a yes.
To regret a no.
I agree with Polina. I think I would pick to regret a no too. I'm too conservative. Okay, what button would you like a life to have? A rewind button or a pause button?
A rewind or a pause?
Mm-hmm.
A pause.
Polina, you need to be quick.
Just
A
do it,
rewind.
Polina.
A rewind.
Rewind. I'm with you too. I will choose the rewind button. Live in a world without secrets or in a world without surprises?
Without secrets.
Without surprises.
I I would choose without surprises too, because if these are surprises which are no secrets, then it means that it's really very chaotic surprises. So, and the secrets would lead to surprises anyway. So, I think the world without surprises, but with secrets.
So those are very sneaky questions, Pauline.
Of course.
We are at the disadvantage of not having thought through them, right?
I don't have I
Oh,
don't
you know,
have the
this-
answers for them, so I'm coming up with the answers right now.
But knowing the
world-
future allows you to change the past.
Or knowing the past, or actually
Or changing the past
changes
you
the
change
future.
you should too, but because if it's the antagonistic options, we assume that if you know the future, you can't change the past, or you can. If you can change the past, you change the future, but you don't know what it will be. So, okay, the next one: a world where nobody lies, or a world where nobody judges.
A world where no one judges.
No one judges.
Okay, we agree on that.
Wow, we have converged, huh?
Be incapable of lying or incapable of detecting when others lie to you?
Incapable of lying.
I think I agree.
Yeah, probably. Okay. I really wanted to diverge, but no.
Okay, feel everything everyone around you feels, or never feel anything at all again.
I'd go for feeling whatever that is.
Feeling it all.
Yeah, let's feel it. Be the most lovable person in the room or the wisest.
Wisest.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I have been the lovable person for my whole life, so let's go for the wisest now. Do you want to know a hurtful truth or prefer living in a peaceful lie?
Hurtful truth.
What is truth, huh?
That is a deep philosophical question. We don't dive into it right now, so you have to pick an option.
Okay, I'm gonna go for truth, but just because the other option is just
We're picking. What pill was it? The blue or the red one in the Matrix? I don't remember. So, like, we're choosing the truth. Okay. Constantly relive your most embarrassing moment or permanently forget your happiest memory.
But if you're gonna constantly be reliving that horrible moments, the happy will have no place, right?
Well, they can coexist.
I choose forget the happiest moment.
Yeah, I agree. Yula?
Hmm. I feel like I'm being tricked here.
Most probably. And
Because
yet,
I'm not gonna
the
get
rules.
my happiest moment, okay? Um, relieve. What are the options again? Continuously relieve the most horrible.
Constantly relive your most embarrassing moment or permanently forget your happiest memory.
I'm gonna go actually for the embarrassing moment because who said that I cannot make it, instead of embarrassing something else?
I totally agree. It's a very generative approach, and it's
Yeah.
very,
Okay.
like self-growth. But I will forget the happiest memory and will create a new happy memory.
Okay, that's another way to approach it.
Okay. Be someone who starts everything and finishes nothing, or one who finishes everything but never starts anything new.
I'll go for the first one.
First one.
I'm the first one too. Okay. Understand every living creature, but lose the ability to speak to humans, or stay as you are.
Oh, definitely the first one. The
Definitely first one. Yes.
No, I will stay as I am because I love humans. Sorry. I will develop the ability to talk to living creatures on my own without any magic.
But that's not the game.
The game is to choose the
The game
option.
is
The
you
option
have to
is
choose, and there's no like workarounds for the purposes of the game.
the option says stay as you are. The way as I am, I can understand living creatures.
You can?
Well, to the extent my fantasy works, I can. So I will work with my fantasy, with my imagination.
Okay.
Okay, always know the right thing to do, but lack the courage to do it, or always have the courage, but never be sure you're right.
Yeah, I'll go for the courage.
Courage.
Courage. Okay, we're going for the courage. Your dreams at night become public, or you never have dreams again.
Never have dreams again.
My dreams become so public.
I actually don't know what to pick. Okay, I will go for public's dreams too. So actually, I very rarely remember my dreams. Maybe this way I will know what actually I'm dreaming about. Everyone can read your thoughts, or you can read everyone's thoughts, but can never turn it off.
I can read everyone's thoughts.
Yeah, probably. I'm also gonna be
Yeah.
reading the thoughts of others.
I agree with this choice. Be fully seen, including the parts you hide, or be loved but misunderstood.
I'll go for being seen.
Being seen.
Being seen. Agree. Be limited by the community that needs you, or be totally free and lonely.
Free and lonely.
What is free exactly? I don't buy anything free.
So, are you choosing the community?
Okay, I'm gonna be bound by my community, but then unbind myself. But I
think
will not be ever free.
I think I will choose the community too. You can only say yes for a whole year, or you only say no for a whole year.
No.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go for no.
I think I will pick this one too. But we would not make, maybe we would, like I have some kind of viral TikTok video based on this experience. Have unlimited options, but choose only once, or have only 2 options, but choose as many times as you want.
But it's new 2 options all the time?
No, there are only 2.
What's the point of multiple options if there's only 2 options? Multiple
I don't know. Like you pick one, then you pick the other, then you pick the first one again.
Basically, in the first version, you have one way or
You
one
can
path, and the second
the range is
2.
wide, but you choose one and you can't change your mind. And the second option, you can change your mind, but the options are limited.
No, I'll choose one. The first one. Many options.
I'm probably also gonna go for the first one. Who cares? Like
No,
between
I
1
think
and 2, but the range is wider in the first.
nah, I know I will pick the second one. It was, like doubting between the options is my thing. Every choice you make is final and irreversible, or every choice can be undone, but none of them ever fully counts.
First one.
Okay, go for number 1 as well.
Okay. I will pick this one too, but keep in mind this choice because we will talk about it now. So now let's put our masks on and I have to admit that I feel somewhat nervous because although we have done these blindfolded episodes a couple of times already and it was an amazing experience, it's my first time facilitating this way. And well, let's see how I cope. So let's discuss the experience we have just had. My first question is, how do you feel when you are obliged to choose one option?
I mean, it depends. Not to converge on one answer, because it depends on many things, on the stakes, for example. When you play the game, there is, there's a thought experiments. When something important is happening, I'm actually now thinking of this decision option that I picked like about 6 weeks ago when my son was really sick for about a month. And basically, I needed to pick an option of whether continue to, to treat him myself. That was kind of my responsibility. It happened to be, or, ask him to be, or, get him hospitalized. That was very challenging decision to make, very challenging one. And I would have gone through a long thought process before. I would have gone through like a lot of stress, which the stress I did have. But I found the courage, I think, instead to go to a place or a space where I would ask for, some guidance from my intuition or from kind of like the environment, the space around me. A tree, specifically a pine tree that I regularly go to when I am feeling like I don't know, I'm feeling confused, I'm feeling like very uncertain. And it was like really, I think the first time that this magnitude of a decision for me, it was like a, big one, that I made it from this space of intuition and knowing in the field of other beings, in the relational field. And I did ask for support, from those other beings, as compared to just relying on a lot of rational waking state analysis. And well, because in the retrospect, it worked out, maybe, but I really now look at that experience as something that I want to carry with me for when other similar situations arise. I just really enjoyed making that decisions not from a place of not from a place of outside facts, but from a very embodied place.
So what I hear is that like the choice might be difficult when the stakes are high, and especially when it's the question of health, well-being of the loved ones, or just generally, like, let's call it death or life of people. The responsibility of the choice is really very heavy. But I have a question for you, Yulya. Besides this beautiful story that you have shared, when the stakes are not that obvious, how do you feel when you still have to choose one option over the other?
I think in general, I actually feel relieved because converging is not my strongest skill. Actually, I would like to be able to converge more, and sometimes life just puts it into this conditions, right? When it's just one thing that you can choose. But for example, in my life right now, or as far as I can remember, my problem is not being able to actually converge and put all of my focus, or maybe most of my focus, on this one thing or these two things. And maybe I'm taking this conversation now and with an intention of looking for some clues how I could converge at the moment. So it's something that I would like to do more of.
But what exactly because I also have the problems with convergence, but I don't want to assume that my problems are the same as your problems. So I want to understand what exactly make it difficult for you to choose. Because I imagine that I can understand the relief when the choice is made.
Yeah.
But
I have a lot
before
of,
that happened.
yeah, I have a lot of kind of like passions and interests that I get carried away by. I do now have a pretty good idea of, like what it is I am kind of capable of doing, or just been to this experience of vision quest, or like what kind of my unique relating to this world, what kind of gift I have. And yet I see so many paths to doing that like, getting rid of one is difficult. Well, I love writing actually. Well, and this I need to whatever, to make money or to do something else. So yeah, it's as if I I'm and yet I know that if I'm focused, which is not focused on all of them, let's say on like 4 or 5 projects that I have, I won't really be deep or in one of those paths. So paradoxically, or very, as expected, maybe that path will stay unexplored. Yeah, maybe it's like FOMO. I don't know.
I'm sorry, what was the word?
Fear of missing out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is what I was thinking of, because that is definitely my problem with convergence. So that, like, if I say no to one option, then like, what are all the possibilities that I'm losing, supposedly, if I choose one and not the other? Yeah. Polina,
Could you repeat the question?
how do you feel when you're obliged to choose only one option out of
Versus not choosing the option? Or one option out of many options?
one option out of several? Well, not choosing is also an option. But no, it's actually no. This is the very interesting clarification. I will go back to that. So, like, yes, if when you have to choose, so like not making a choice is not an option. You have to choose one out of several. How do you feel?
You would have to give me more variables for me to tell you how I feel, because I mean, we always
You
have
don't
to choose an
you
option.
you don't encounter yourself. For example, how did you feel in your game, in the game that we played?
But that's a different game, because we're being forced between two options that I don't necessarily agree with. So
And
so
still you have to pick one. How
well,
does it make you feel?
like it's a game.
Okay, so like we're reducing the stakes.
Yeah. Like if you had to up the stakes, I would probably have more feelings.
Okay. Do you encounter in your life situations when you have to make a choice, and does it do, does it happen for you easily, or does it create any
Okay.
emotions, feelings for you?
Well, yeah, so because we're not able to see the future and we can't rewind. And we can't hit pause because there's a natural timeline. Yeah, there's I guess choosing is it depends on the situation, but at the end of the day, it is um a gamble. And it's a gamble where you really have very little input or control. It's it's just a risk you take, hoping for some potential outcomes that will be generative, and also knowing that potentially you're signing up for a lot of variables that you could not foresee.
Okay, so do I understand it right that in the case you describe, it's not so much the fear of missing other options, but rather the tension of the risk that you can't control the outcome of whatever choice you make?
As well as you never really know truly what variables you're signing up for.
Okay, okay.
Pauline,
So it's,
may also like drill in on you a little bit, because we discussed this at one point. Both of us shared that we have a lot of things going on, and you were sharing that you have a lot of different trainings and things that you feel like, are really important, even critical for you to learn, yet, at one point you have to put on pause something, or if you continue, you feel exhausted. Because we have discussed here that we would like give each other prompts to tell more stories, and that's why
Yeah, I appreciate it. You're right. So like when we had this conversation earlier, I was, I think, tuning into, that's right, missing out on some potential futures, right? So missing out on potential futures of expansion, like almost like a subway map, and one of the tunnels is now not going to be dug, so that whole territory is no longer explorable because you can't get to it. And you may or may not be able to come back to it, but depending on like the new tunnels you're going to end up building with the choices you're making, you may be getting so much further away from these potentialities that it really actually changes the entire map. Is that what you're referring to, Yul?
I was just trying to get you to tell us some stories.
Oh, like a specific story? Yeah, well, for example, I really wanted to learn how to communicate with animals, but there's a lot of other trainings that are going on right now. And so when a specific training came up that felt very big in terms of taking what I already have to the next level, I had to put on pause the animal communication because it is developing something completely new. And I wasn't sure where that was going to lead versus I could feel there was more energy in taking what I already have to the next level. So I
So
would
how
like to be able to stretch in every single possible direction and contain and hold all of it. And I know that that is, I do try to create more energy and capacity to do more than I think is possible, but there is a limit. So I guess that's my answer.
so how did you feel when you had to make a choice?
Sad
Why? What
because I
did you
feel like
make?
I'm missing out on a
Okay,
potential experience that I would like to have too.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
And um, that phrase that you mentioned earlier, that I found it very curious because when I posed the question, you said, okay, how do I feel making a choice versus not making a choice at all? So, does it happen to you often? Not making a choice?
Yes.
Because making a choice creates this losing the options that you're not choosing. Is it because of that?
Because there's not enough energy sometimes to make a choice, or at least not enough energy or clarity to make a choice that would help to converge as many probabilities as possible into like a potential future I would want. So if there's not enough of those variables present or available, then yeah, then I usually wait to make a choice. But of course, in waiting to make a choice, you also lose out on a bunch of other probabilities that are possible had you made a choice.
May I clarify when you say when there is not enough energy available, what do you mean exactly? It's not enough information?
Uh, but information is one aspect, but sometimes there's also just not enough energy to follow through on something or follow a direction. You're not feeling the pull, right? So there has to be energy in the field, enough of it to feel a pull to make a decision where you are not sure about the variables that you are choosing.
Okay,
Because
so
it's literally a gamble. Every single thing we choose is a gamble. So I would need some kind of energetic signature for me to feel in the field that even though this is a gamble, the energy is leading me that way for whatever reason, without me knowing why.
okay. I think it's like something similar to the guidance that Yulya mentioned in her stories. So like something that would guide you in this choice.
Something that would make it more alive in the space in the field that I would want to move towards.
Okay. This is very interesting. Thank you for sharing it because yeah, I can understand the situation when like the choice is not made because I think, at least based on my experience, I don't know if you would agree with me, in the situations when there is this lack of energetic signature that would pull you in a certain direction over the other ones, that means that basically there is no choice here. Like there is no need of making a choice. And it is very different when we are avoiding making a choice, exactly because we're just afraid of, if I pick this option, I will lose the other potentialities that I'm potentially closing the doors to because I haven't chosen that option. The reason why I ask this question is because I also have this problems with convergence, which in my observations happens quite a lot with creative people, with people who are can be maybe very easily divergent. They usually tend to have problems with convergence, and I think the main reason is exactly that. It's like the fear of missing out on other options. You're like, why do I choose the door here if like I want to explore and this and that and that?
And
And
also that in making a choice, you're also giving up being you. And you said you wanted to stay you, remember, in one of the two options in the game.
that is interesting. Why making a choice means you're giving up being you?
You as you are. Remember that choice? You said I'm gonna stay as I
No,
am.
yes, I remember that you like alternative in the game, but you said that also we may have a problem with making a choice because by making a choice you're giving up the possibility of being you. I didn't understand that.
The possibility, no, not the possibility of being you, but the ability to stay as you are potentially giving up because you are moving towards something else, which will potentially change you.
This is an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I mean, like in and all decisions or big decisions anyway about the flow of our beings and identities, and then yeah, from the point of view of who I am going to be, because that's going to affect the whole relational network that you're part of, right? It's going to change the whole configuration.
But the question is, yeah, sorry, go on, Yulya.
No, yet we're making decisions all the time because such is life. Life, change and movement is the only constant that is out there. And yet somehow, this like something is coming up when it's framed as explicitly as a decision. It's as if it becomes harder than if you just take it as, like a sense of flow, as the flow of life. So there is something about improvising versus decisions being framed as specific decisions that signify something or, represent a fork of some kind.
But what you're talking about, is it because of the weight of responsibility? Somehow, if I make the decision, the responsibility for the outcomes is mine. Whereas if I just let myself flow, then whatever happens is the responsibility of the higher forces.
Exactly, when you're, in flow of life. It's easier, and I think every decision that we make is not entirely ours. There are a lot of things that go into this decision. But I've got a question there, sorry.
It's so funny that you just framed flow as potentially giving up agency.
Yeah, I found it very curious too. But
Like the stakes are lower because you're not really making those decisions, in such a kind of binary way if you're in flow, and also you're not feeling the weight and the responsibility of it. Well, because I'm just following the flow, so it's not really my fault that the flow took me up to a place where I didn't want to go.
And you know what? I totally own that. This is my my state and my experience and my process, because when I feel like I'm flowing, I also feel like I'm surrendering to some extent, and I feel more guided than I feel, in this frame of mind that it's me who's now making a decision. I do also have agency, but it's a very diffused kind of agency.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's no, I think I understand what you mean, and it's definitely like to have this shared responsibility for life with life itself is definitely takes off a lot of weight of your shoulders. And I totally agree that making a choice when we are attuned to these energetic signatures of each option is much easier, because sort of it's not about the control, I think, that Polina mentioned before, but still it's, at least in my case, how I think it gives you some sort of the feeling of trust in the process. That if I feel this attunement with this option and not that one, then even though I can't predict the outcome, I still can trust that whatever happens, it will happen in attunement with me.
and that you're going to be able to sustain that experience.
Yes, exactly. But I want to go back to that notion of not making a choice because any choice will choose who I am.
Will change and shift who you are potentially.
Yes, but I'm wondering, is it really possible to stay in the static state of your being by simply avoiding making a choice?
Well, I don't think it's a static state to begin with. It's never a static state, but it's more of like what Yulya said, maybe a diffuse being within the current energetic kind of structure or flow, whereas a decision would create more ripples in the field. You would have to actually move towards something or away from something else, and that changes the configuration or like the current experience of the being in the non-static state you're in now.
So it's not really what we're talking about here is not really not making a choice, but really like entrusting the choice to the field.
No, it's not
No?
making a choice. It's making the choice to not make a choice to make any change and to choose anything new. It's just choosing to keep being in the state you're in.
Which is
But the change will happen anyway.
Not necessarily.
Well,
You could continue avoiding going down any of the tunnels and just keep pedaling back.
which which requires also a lot of energy and actually
exactly.
does create might create a shift in identity as well. For example, I am the one who pedals backwards, right? I am the one who's holding a wall, which I know will crumble, and maybe a decision will be made for me, but at this point I'm the one who's just gonna hold on to the wall with all my strength and energies that's available to me. And I mean, it's also not static because things are happening. There is this energetic intensity of a kind, and we're being changed. So, yeah.
Well, some people that go down, let's say, some rabbit holes and get very depressed and very shut down. In a way, you could see that as a like a preservation of current state, not being ready or available to make any decisions and just wanting to stay in the current state.
Yes, but that does require a lot of energy because depression is, versus expressing. Depressing means that you are, directing a lot of energy towards not letting things out and keeping them, let's say, it's, status quo.
Um, I'm not sure because depression is a low energy state. It's
But
oh,
depression is low energy state because, being frozen, let's say, at the nervous system level, it means that a lot of energy is trapped and held there, and releasing it just feels too dangerous. Like things that might explode even at the level of physiology.
Yeah. Some of it can be like that. Some of it can be just, I just cannot make any moves or any decisions right now. And I don't have enough energy to stay present to the situation. And I'm just going to shut the engines down and go into a rest, and like not rest in terms of course, well, yeah, kind of a reset state. It could be a reset state. Not engaging with where you're at could also be a break from having to use energy.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm curious. I need to think about, Pauline, what you're describing, if it's a state of complete depletion, whether not engaging with anything that also actually might require resources as a protective strategy, though.
Yeah, but these, like protective strategy consists, as far as I understand, and I don't have my personal experience, only from what I've heard from other people and the explanation of the professionals. So like this protective strategy would consist exactly in conserving the resources that are available just to sustain the organisms at the survival level. And there are no free energy available to make any voluntary choices.
But
But
energy, yes, but trapped energy in a lot of cases, when that state of the nervous system is there, that's called freeze response, for example, or when it's constantly like a constant stress, then you are actually going through a lot of energy at any single moments. It's just like your adrenals and actually the whole system. It is burning a lot of energy for protection, and that's why the energy is not directed anywhere else, because protection is our number one priority.
So I want to summarize a little bit the different situations of avoiding making a choice. We have the situation when I can't make any choice because there is no any guidance, there's no any energetic signature that would guide me towards, would pull me towards one option or another. And in my worldview, it basically means that there is no choice here. So like there is no need of moving in one direction or another. So it's just the choices are false. They might be created by the mind. But there are also the situations when we are avoiding consciously or unconsciously of making a choice because we don't want to lose options, because there is this fear that if I pick one option over the other, I will choose the other option and I want to have both because we're too divergent. And there is also the option when the way I understood it from the discussion, I'm actually resisting of making a choice because any choice would lead to a change, and I'm making all the efforts possible to stay where I am, consciously or unconsciously. Which, in my view, is also a sort of is a choice.
Yep.
But the reason why I posed this question in the beginning is exactly because in my personally, as I mentioned already, I have this problem with fear of missing out. I have the problem with convergence because every choice I make feels like is the killer for all other alternatives. And it's like sometimes feels unbearable because okay, you're like I go in this direction doesn't mean that I will never be able to explore all other paths. How come? I want to explore all of them. And yet, Yulya, I think you mentioned it before. So like if I try to focus on too many options, that means that I won't be able to explore deeply any of them. So the question I want to pose is might be somewhat abstract and philosophical, but is a necessary one. And we don't have enough time due to our time constraints to explore dutifully all the nuances. So the question is, what is the function of a no in life?
Well, before we move on to that, I just want to also mention that you touched on another distinction when you were speaking just now between active choices and passive ones. And,
Yes.
and we didn't establish those parameters for the discussion. So I feel like the conversation might change if we're talking about active choices versus passive ones.
How does it change?
Because passive ones require way less energy and actual decision.
What is a passive choice versus an active choice?
I guess when you entrust the choice to the higher forces, to the flow, you just let yourself flow. And so it's not me who made this decision, it's life that made this
I
decision
wouldn't
for
call
me.
it a passive choice actually at all. So it's, I mean, like the whole attunement or even getting to that state of consciousness, that's a lot of effort is there in practice.
But there are also passive choices.
Like,
I don't know, like three elevator doors happen to be standing next to this one, you go into this one, and then in that one you meet the head of a company that you want to work for. That's a like it's a passive choice because you just happen to be standing there. But maybe if you wanted to be like, which elevator should I choose to increase my options of meeting a specific energy on my way up in this building? And then you choose the middle one. Like that's more of an active choice.
okay, I agree that, like there are many things that, like if we put our deliberate decision making and the awareness into every step we're making, like there is no enough energy in the world that will be able to sustain this process. So the automatisms exists for a reason. They they make our life more efficient. But I think if you are generally in the attunement with life, then you don't need to make the choice like what elevator you need to pick. You will be standing in front of the elevator that will lead you if it's an important fork like of different alternatives. Like you will be standing into the elevator which will lead you to the alternative which is more resonant with you.
Potentially that's just a way to look at variables and that's not even real. But that's a whole other discussion. That's okay. I'm not going to take us off off of the
No,
trajectory.
no, I think like it's still pertinent to the global question that I'm not even sure that we will have time to answer today. So maybe we
The
will
question
have
of
to
no.
continue again.
Yes.
Huh?
What was the question of no?
So like my global question for the episode was how do we converge generatively? As so like how do we combine the yes and with the necessity of making a choice sooner or later. So I think some things that have emerged during this discussion have pointed, at least me, from what I heard, in the direction of the answer that it is again about this attunement and paying attention to these subtle energy signatures, as the term that Polina uses, that helps you to, to flow with the current of the events and reduces the weight of having to make a choice at every step because it seems like the choices are made for you. But before we go to that, and most probably we will have to come back to that question in another episode because we have only 15 minutes left. I still want to discuss the necessity of making a choice. So hence my question.
Wait, can I just propose something for another conversation?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
What if everything we're talking about energy in the field and us making decisions and blah 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 blah, what if none of it is actually true? Because never are we actually making any decisions. We're just in our little raft floating along, and things have already been decided, or something else is deciding. And the only thing we're really playing with is just being more conscious about the different variables in the road and thinking we're making decisions, we're taking this road or that. But really, we may be standing at the elevator the entire time. Or maybe it's all a matter of a gamble. None of it there is no meaning. There is no decision being made. It just seems that way in our internal framework.
Okay, I accept the invitation, and also you gave me the good point to lean on for our wrapping up. So basically, the question that I want to ask you to conclude this part of this conversation, which we will continue, is based on what has been said, what can you say about the necessity or the lack of it of making a decision and making the necessity of making decisions from our side? And Polina just expressed the possibility that we're not making any decisions at all. Okay, and I agree that it's an interesting option that we definitely need to consider. Yeah, maybe everything is an illusion at all.
As part of constructing our subjective, or what they call transjective realities. So I guess, with the help of our imagination, there are so many things that, we can, frameworks that we can see ourselves in, right? But I would say,
Exactly, frameworks. Exactly. The framework is what creates the illusion of whether there is choice or not. Also, can we not make choices and decisions? Like, what would it look like? Is it possible? Is it even possible? But it all depends on the framework that you're looking at the thing from.
Yeah, exactly. I actually also, especially in the context of my recent experience, that was a 2-week vision quest that was in California, which was also called a journey into the underworld. And so the focus was to shift from the waking reality into the different states of consciousness through imagination, through dream work, through immersing ourselves in the desert to the extent as if she was dreaming us, which actually, like it felt so true. I'm being dreamed by this place. And from that framework, she was, like she was kaleidoscoping things to me, for example, in one of those experiences, which didn't, some of them didn't look like I even had a choice about them. For example, one of the questions that I was asking is I was really, trying to understand what it is that I can, bring to this world, right? And so, this is not my decision to make, I believe. And oftentimes this is a, one of the biggest decisions that we are trying to make, right? So I guess in that context and in that framework, making decisions look very different from what we understand usually in our waking state about making decisions. So it's more like you're already in some kind of flow and you become aware through, being able to access the underworld and a lot of the subconscious that is always trying to communicate to it, like where you are and what she, he, it, and the whole world with the moon, that I was also kind of communing with what it is it that they are, um, you know, showing to me what is already happening.
Like it
I can
chooses you, not that you choose it. It chooses you.
kind of. Yes, there were actually some decisions that still remained at the level of waking consciousness after having traveled to the underworld and having been present to some things to consider. But then I came back and there were decisions that I want to stick with those decisions from my waking consciousness. And these are like more regular decisions that, yeah.
Oh, like the decisions are made somewhere else, and our degree of consciousness and awareness and free will or agency, whatever you want to call it, in the waking state is whether we will honor the decisions that have already been made at the other level.
I don't know, like some of it is like that, but some of the decisions I still think I am the one who is investing energy in supporting this path that I've decided to walk right now or for now.
I like that. That's a cool framework.
Okay, I'm grateful that you have provided me this twist of how to approach the exploration next time. So I'm taking a note of that the framework is important. So what kind of all kind of frameworks that we could look at it from within what framework we're making decisions, what kind of decisions we're making, are we making them at all? What does it mean to make a decision? Okay, it's I think it's
The collective delusion that there are decisions to be made.
no, I think it's an interesting direction you have pointed the conversation towards. So I think I would like to continue this exploration, and still, like as a matter of my own conclusions from what I have heard, I still think that we're still making decisions, even if it seems that everything what happens, nothing depends on me, so things are just happening to me, and whether it's because like I don't have any energy at all to make any choices, or because I entrust myself to the higher forces and I like say that they know better, for whatever reason, it's still my choice to choose the framework of my interpretation of my reality. It's still my choice to be in that state or this state, or like to decide what does it mean, this experience or that experience that I am in.
Or we could reframe what you just said, that it's still my choice, and say, well, you're choosing to use extra resources and energy to impose your will to try to change what's already been set.
This is totally valid interpretation, yes. It may be the case, but
Yeah.
the interpretation is still my choice.
Exactly. And there's also that, still, I'm not buying it all that it's completely my choice or it's my free choice,
Right.
because
Right.
of the many configurations. I mean, like if my, getting back to the decision about my son, I mean, like if my family history had been different, if my this and that had been different, then my decision would have been different. So it's never mine. It's always, a lot of it is in the field and part of the configuration.
Yes,
Actually,
exactly.
has a lot of roots.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so this is definitely a big discussion. So to build a bridge into the future, I invite our listeners to share their thoughts on whether we're making choices or not at all, whether making a choice is necessary thing, or we can just entrust ourselves into the flow and go without making any choices. So what is your take at the moment on the matter of us making choices? And we will meet with you, I hope, next time in our next episodes, where we will continue our explorations. So thank you very much to both of you and to our listeners for today's flow.
Thank you, Ira. Yes, thank you.
Thanks for listening. How was it for you? We believe that the more people experience group flow together, the better off we all are. More connected, more creative, more alive. So let's expand the field.
If this episode resonated with you, help us spread the word. Share it with a friend, leave a comment, or give us a rating. We love you.
Do subscribe so you'll know when the next experiment comes out. You can also connect with us on our Life and Flow group Substack. We'd love to hear from you. Let's keep flowing together.